Well, hello, Keller Williams, New England. Thank you for joining us today. I am Brooke Silva, and I am joined by Jennifer Bove. Where are you on my screen? There you are. I found you. I found you. And today, thank you for joining us for building and rebuilding your team during the Great Resignation. By a show of, you can all raise your hands since so many of you have your videos on, but how many of you know what the Great Resignation really is? Does anybody have right? It's one of those, it's an odd term, right? And we really only heard about it or felt it during the start of the pandemic, where all of a sudden people started quitting their jobs, changing the worlds they were in, going into completely different fields, leaving office sectors. And the world, how we know it, it really changed for a while. So today we're going to dig into some of those things. We have some great panelists with us. But before we even get there, let me introduce myself. I am Brooke Silva. I am your regional technology trainer here at Keller Williams, New England. And where's my co-host? There you are, Jen.
Sure. Hello, guys. Jennifer Bove here. I am operating principal in little old Rhode Island at Keller Williams Coastal, and I am also the area director for New England, which I am super proud of, and so excited to be here with all of you today, and super excited to hear from our panelists today.
Yes, we've got some great panelists for you today. A little bit of housekeeping. If you could keep your videos on, we'd love it. If you could make sure you are muted, we would love it. If you have never used a raise hand button, I'm going to show you how to do it real quick. If you are on a Zoom on your computer, you can head on down to reaction and you're going to see a button that says raise your hand. So if you want to try testing that out now, raise your hand. You'll also see a thumbs up, a clap, a love, a crying with laughter emoji, some celebration. We love seeing those. That gives us the energy that knows you're with us. You can click the reactions button again and then click lower your hand. And now you are Zoom pros for raising your hand if you have a question. Feel free to also use the chat. Jen and I are going to be moderating that during the class. So if you have a question while the panels are talking, go ahead and plop that in there, and then we will jump in and interrupt the panelists or pull in the question when we think it's relevant. All right, everybody want to give me a thumbs up? Let's see if you know, huh? Yeah, there we go. See, we got some digital thumbs up. No, what do you mean no? Jen, take down the no.
I'm playing with it. I don't know what
exactly. See, this is why I don't always do this, because then everybody starts playing. But now we know. All right. Let's spotlight me. Let's spotlight you. And move everybody over here. Awesome, guys. Well, again, thank you for coming to the building and the rebuilding of your team during the Great Resignation. And one of the things that's so important, and you're hearing this a lot in our world, right? How many of you have heard the word shift today in our business? I think I've heard it about 200-300 times today, right? It has nothing to do with what we're planning, but shift applies to talent as well, especially when people are figuring out where they want to move, where they want to work. Are they happy in their current careers? Do they feel valued? And some of us may have great resignation. You may have a scarcity mindset when it comes to who's going to work with me? How am I supposed to build a team, create a team? So these 4 tactics are going to help you survive and thrive in a market that is undergoing change as we shift. So those tactics are: tactic 1, get real, get right. It's tactic 4, find the motivated. Where are the motivated people who want to work with you? Get to the table, and then master the market of the moment. Because just like doing lead gen in our world, we have to apply those same tactics to helping us find and retain talent. God. All you, Jen.
All right, so let's dive right into get real, get right. Really quickly, just to explain it, to get real is starts with the three truths of shaping your ability to source talent. The first truth, if you guys know this one, put your hand up. Unemployment is low and wage demands are high. If you know that, put your hand up, right? Our unemployment is at what, like 3.7, 3.5, one of the lowest. So hard to find really great talent out there, and they want $1 million a year, right?
They do.
So that's truth number one. Truth number two is you are competing with high profile companies for talent, right? And then the third truth is finding talent in a shifting employment market is no different than finding leads in a shift. With that reality, we do have to think differently on how the market is no different than finding these leads. What worked before, guess what? Might not work now, right? Right. So we're going to be armed with the reality and get some clarity around it. One, what does your organization look like now? And our panelists are really going to dive into that today. They all have really great organizations that they're going to share with us. Who is missing? I know for me, there's always at least somebody missing in my growth pattern or where I am currently. Who casts a vision, or have you cast a vision big enough for others to grow their world within yours? And personally speaking, as an operating principal here in Rhode Island, one of the things that we're casting a vision on is services and ancillary businesses that our agents are getting involved in to be big enough, our vision big enough for them to be involved in. So we're going to listen and hear from our panelists on that as well. The other thing they have here is if we have playing red light, green light, how many of us know red light, green light or heard about it, especially as soon as the pandemic hit?
Right.
As soon as
everything
hit, right, Rich, right? So Gary Keller said, guys, stop what you're doing right this minute and play red light, green light. And we all listened, but that was over 2 years ago. How many of us have revisited the red light, green light activity? Ryan, I see you smirking a little bit under that mustache. All right. So we might not be able to fill in every talent with immediate spots for that because we're playing red light, green light. Yeah, we're going to discuss it. Once you have clarity on the needs, you prioritize the needs, it'll start the domino effect. And that's what we're going to go over today. Gary Keller reminds us in Shift, growth comes from clarity, priorities, and focused action. That is a Gary Keller quote. Growth comes from clarity, priorities, and focused action. The next step is action.
And how many of you have heard this term? It's build your bench. Are you building your bench of talent in your organization? And as Jen was just talking about, we have to use those other tactics to get very clear because we've learned, if you've taken career visioning, often our first few hires fail because we ourselves do not have the vision, the clarity. We don't know how we do business or what we do. It lives up here, but it doesn't live on paper, right? We don't have an operations manual. We're not using a project management. We don't know how to tell an admin or a buyer's agent or a listing specialist to take the person from start to finish because we don't have it in somewhere that is shareable, or we haven't cast a vision in a space where it's shareable. So in a tight labor market, we're going to have to lead generate. How many of you have heard of LinkedIn? How many of you have heard of Indeed? How many of you have heard of Craigslist? Let's stay off that one for things now. Like that has become a joke. I remember back in the day looking at the employment ads in the paper and circling, maybe I would like to apply for those. So Facebook, have you heard of Facebook? Yeah. There are so many different places you can attract talent that we'll talk about those today, but there's 3 types of talent we have to be looking for in this shift right now. And the first one is potential talent. Now, these could be people who are new to the job market or this sector career. They're unproven. They can't bring you experience on a resume to our world because they've never worked in our world or sold or even worked with agents or different people in the market center. There's a benefit to this. And the benefit is usually their salaries are lower cost. And talent who is hungry gets up and running sometimes a little quicker. They're unlikely to also have bad habits that we have to help train Karina, right? It's such a truthful thing that we know that there are bad habits that we take from previous roles and worlds we worked in. But the challenge you will face by having the lower cost is that we do have to pay for more training, and it may be more difficult to assess their performance if you can't hold them against previous track records. Then there's emerging talent. And emerging talent has a track record, but it's short in the field, or they did something kind of like they're going to do here, but they weren't in real estate. They're usually the one where you're going to get the most return, and they're the people who are hungrier to go to the next step, right? So we know from career visioning that who your first hire should be, and then that first hire should take things off your plate. And when they're ready to go to the next position, train the person who's going to replace them. And that's emergent talent. Less training and often like to be incentivized. We can use our KPAs. And then there's proven talent. And it's funny, we all want proven talent, but at a potential talent rate. Right? That's where we live in this. We expect. So what we normally get is potential or emerging, but we really want proven. And it's up to us to get that people to move to the proven. And those are our friends who have strong track records. Maybe they are at other brokerages, or they have a strong sales background from another world, but they're a great option when you don't have the bandwidth for training, and someone you need to be able to step in and get going right away, right? Like, I am so busy, I need someone today, and then there's little training, but high risk of bad habits from the former organization, right? How many of you have taken the KPA, by the way, and had it validated? A lot of people on our front screen. Love it. So once we find the motivated and we really know and we're clear on what we want them to do, we have to then continue to motivate them and have them help us find more talent, right? So if you aren't getting right job response, if you're not getting the right amount of candidates you need from these different ads you're running, whether it be Facebook, Indeed, within the Market Center, LinkedIn, you got to figure out what you're missing in all these pieces. And are you looking, right, for that potential talent? I'm sorry, at that proven talent, but are you offering potential rates for pay, right? And I'm sure we're going to get into this with the guys in a little bit too. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah. And you know what, Brooke, just to kind of give a recap for those who just came on, because a bunch of people did just come on. What Brooke and I are doing is we're doing a recap of 4 shift tactics that we're going to be asking questions to our panelists on very soon. We're just giving you the background of each one of these tactics, so you have a good understanding on why we're asking the questions of the panelists that are here today. We are going to introduce our panelists next. We're just going to get through 2 more tactics and then get there. So I'm going to take on really quickly, get to the table tactic. And we all know that leads without conversion isn't profitable, right? We all know that. The next shift tactic to apply is to get to the table, converting your leads to hires. So basically you have a funnel of candidates. How do we bring that all the way down to hires? What are your biggest hurdles you face today in getting talent from application to hired and retained past 90 days? Now, I will tell you, building a market center, working with the region, one of the things we do on a daily basis is interview, is find talent, is have a bench. And it might not always be a right now fit, And a lot of times we say, oh, remember that person that we talked to 3 months ago? And we go back and we look at the KPA and we revisit it and revalidate it, call them back. And a lot of times an opportunity is timing. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Also using the KPA to capture and verify the KPA to convert your talent into a hire. With a few questions like what's working, what's not, what are your goals? Here's what we can do to achieve your goals. Who in your area is having these kinds of conversations with you? From there, we go right into, if you've heard of this, let me know, the 30, 60, 90. How many of my panelists here put their team through a 30, 60, 90? All right, about 50% of you. A 30, 60, 90 process is the key to retaining talent and limiting how often you have to rebuild your team. How many of my panelists, because I could see you guys are on my panel here, my little screen here, how many of you have had to rebuild your team before? That's 100%. Oh, I see a couple of hands. I think Brian just brought in 4 more hands from the outside. So it happens, right? Rebuilding is something that happens, and having a way to understand how to rebuild, having a solution is important and something we're going to discuss. Here are 3 steps to execute your 30, 60, 90s at a high levels. At a high level, you can write these down. It's pre-work to create SMART, S-M-A-R-T, specific, measurable, attainable, repeatable, and timely goals for your hire to align with your GPS. Anybody know what a GPS is other than the one that's in your car? You could unmute. I'm talking to you.
Goals, priorities, and strategies.
That's right, Nate. Thank you so much for participating.
Got it.
Yes, absolutely. Goals, priorities, and strategies. So if you don't have a 135 or a GPS, Brooke, do you think that's something that we could add in the chat for them?
I will. And I'm going to put it in our wrap up email and on our growth call page as well. But KW Connect has this all for you. So if this sounds like a foreign language, what we're spitting out right now, all of a sudden, and we start talking about goals and oh goodness, now I have to start doing 30, 60, 90s with people. One of the wonderful things KW has put out under KW Connect is a leverage part of the site where for every role on an agent's team, there's job guides, there's roles, there's 30, 60, 90s, there's 401, there's everything you need to make sure that the people who you're bringing in your world can be successful and you can hold them accountable as well. That's KW Connect and Leverage, but I will make sure that's out in a link after for everyone. And there's also some really cool strategies in there that they talk about.
All right, I want to get to our panelists quickly. So I'm going to shoot off these last 2. The number 2 is set expectations. Clearly communicate on how you will measure success and teach your hire the tools of the GPS, the 411, and the 30, 60, 90. Now, again, if this is something that you're hearing for the first time, that is okay. We will teach you these tools, show you how to use them, and you use them first. You have to get these used in your own business first before you're able and willing or if it'll work with somebody else. And then number 3 is evaluate. This is probably one of the most important things. Weekly check-ins with the 411. If you expect to just hire somebody and kind of just let them figure it out on their own without setting a standard or an expectation of what you're looking for, what could happen? Yeah, the thumbs up means it's happened to me before, right? They do their own thing. They don't do what I really want them to do. And it just isn't a great representation of who you are, and they are representing you. So having the weekly check-ins are super important with the 411, 30-day red light, green light, and make sure that they're nailing their 20%. Their 20% is what's their most important thing that they have to get done in their job. And then the 90 day is, do they actually own the job? Now, at this point, are they doing it themselves, right? At first, you do it, then you do it together, and then they do it on their own, right? So 90 days, are they owning that job? Those are the top 3. Go ahead, Brooke.
You know, and I love this last slide that we're going to go over because normally we're in our world, right? As an agent, there's our world on the left. And the labor market of now what they value is engagement from the people on their team and their direct supervisors, and opportunities for growth. So the market of now for labor, they want to be on the right side, right? They want to feel part of a team. They want to see their growth potential. They want to know they want to see inside your world. They want to see inside your world so they can also cast their own vision and build a big life, but on your team, right? So we're all these people around us in the bubble. Bring them into your world and into your vision, and communicate it and work with them. Going over goals in 30, 60, 90s and GPSs and all this stuff is not micromanaging. This is building the talent on your team and helping them build a bigger life as well. All right, so let's meet our panelists. I'm going to start spotlighting them, and then I will stop the screen share. Add spotlight. Where are you, Nate? There you are. All right. Ta-da! There they are. All right, Jen, you want to introduce them?
Well, why don't we have each panelist introduce themselves? And I'm going to start with Steve because you're right next to me on the screen. So Steve, please introduce yourself first, where you are, all that good stuff.
Okay, my name's Steve Clay, and I'm with the KW office on Cape Cod and the Islands, and now including Plymouth as well, and the Colonial Partners. And I've been with Keller Williams for in real estate for 15 years, Keller Williams for 10. And I guess the last year we did just under 40 million in volume, and we're on track to do about the same again this year.
Congratulations, Steve. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to go right over to my next person on the screen, and that's Jeff Mateja. Jeff, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be on. Jeff Mateja from the Mateja Group, Keller Williams in Scarborough, Maine. Last year, start off. I've been in the business 17 years, all at Keller Williams, so I don't know any better than the best. And last year we did 398 sides for 135 million in production.
Well, thank you for being here, Jeff. I had the pleasure of doing your awards ceremony, and I said your name more times than I think anybody I've ever said before. So congratulations on your award-winning year. Ryan, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Ryan Gilmartin from beautiful and historic Salem, Massachusetts. I've been in real estate for about 11 years, 9 years with KW. So unlike Jeff, I do know that it's a lot worse elsewhere. And I'm also an expert at building and rebuilding teams, because that's apparently what I do, building my third team as we speak. Last year, I was primarily a solo agent, did about 20 million in volume. On pace for more than that, because I actually have agents this year.
Ryan, I had a feeling that you had some rebuilding things going on, because when I said that word, you were like a bobblehead in a car. And I was like, all right, okay, he knows what we're talking about here.
And what I can say is everything you mentioned beforehand is absolutely true. If you want to be like me and just build it all the time, just don't take career visioning and don't do 30, 60, 90.
All right, so we're going to work on doing those things today. And our last panelist, Nate, would you mind introducing yourself, please?
Yeah, I'm Nate Malley from Burlington, Vermont, and I've been in the business for 14 years, with KW for 10 years. Past 12 months, we've done 219 units for 89 million.
Well, thank you for being here, and great job with your businesses this year, guys. All right, so Brooke, you want to lead us right into the first question?
Yeah, guys, let's get into it. Nate, since we ended with you, let's start with you, and then we'll work our way backwards through Ryan, Jeff, and Steve. But, we hear the Great Resignation constantly. We're seeing it in the news, social media. Outfront had an article about it recently. But how has the fluctuations in the job market impacted your team and business?
I think when you think about real estate, I think it's actually a bigger opportunity for everybody on this call than in other industries. Like, if you think about it that way, what do people want? They want flexibility, they want freedom, they want earning potential, they want a good culture, they want training. So real estate can provide all of those opportunities for people who are looking to change careers. So we've been fortunate to snag some really good agents on our team over the past 18 months from corporate jobs who wanted to be real estate agents because they wanted all of those things that I was just talking about. So I think you can either look at it negatively, like it's going to be really hard to find these people to come and be part of your team and your business, or you can say there's a great opportunity now because people are looking for what's next for them and how they'd be happy in life and how they spend more time with their friends and family, but also hit the goals that they have for themselves. So we really tried to look at it like there's just a bigger opportunity now to go and find these folks than there was in years past. I think people are more adept to be open to change. And if you kind of look at it that way, then you're going to go find the good people to be partners with you.
So you really saw this as opportunity. So this wasn't great resignation. This really was great rebuilding for you and your team.
Yeah, I think we've had more talented agents join our team in the past 2 years since the pandemic hit. Than we probably had in the 2 or 3 years combined before that. So we've been able to grow our team through the pandemic. And really, they're just like, they come in, the culture is a lot different than what they've experienced in the corporate world. They're earning more money, they have more flexibility, and overall, from what they've told me, as long as they're not lying to me, they seem overly happy with the real estate career. So
I love that. Thank you, Nate. Ryan, how has it impacted your team, the Great Resignation? Was it a negative impact or a positive impact like Nate's?
It was absolutely a positive impact. I'm so glad that Nate used that word opportunity. I will admit that I took that opportunity to deconstruct my team and then rebuild it in a way that I was happier with, because prior to COVID, we had 4 agents and an admin. I was very, very, very unhappy just generally in life. And it was an opportunity for me to start over again and really find people who had strong sales background outside of real estate to bring onto my team.
Thank you. So did you find, I know we're going to get into this in a little bit more, but how did you find that talent? Like when you were scooping that net out there in historic, gorgeous Salem, were you going in-house or were you going out of house to find the people you were bringing in?
I was going out of house.
Okay.
I had hired from within before, and that has its positives and its negatives. I just wanted to find people who had strong sales records, as opposed to finding people who had real estate licenses who might have not been as successful selling stuff. So, for example, we found somebody who had a set of sales record at the age of 21 for selling purses at, I believe, Colon, but I could be wrong about that. So just somebody who has ability to sell, but maybe not necessarily in our field and had not developed any of those bad habits that you mentioned earlier.
Excellent. Thank you. Because I'm thinking, it just hit me as a thought, but internally, are we rebuilding and looking at what we're doing as individuals, right? Do I want to become leadership? Do I want to move into marketing? Do I want operations roles? KW has so many opportunities. So it just hit me that I didn't know how you guys were using the Great Resignation or rebuilding with internal versus just external forces. So Jeff, up to you.
Very similar to Adam, we saw it as an opportunity. We cast out a very wide net and attracted in the last 18 to 24 months a number of agents that bought into the systems and tools and saw this as the flexibility, the security, that the market was very strong. And we had seven of our 9 full-time agents close 30 transactions or more. We also saw that a couple of folks wanted to look into other areas. And so I do have some part-time agents. We'll probably get to that later on building a team. But I did have an agent actually leave, but stayed in the industry to become a loan officer. They still carry their real estate license, and we stay in touch with them so that they refer business. So we embrace that. So, for whatever, opportunity reasons that was their mindset was that they wanted to take a break and go to the loan side to learn that and explore that opportunity. They did. And then we worked through our sphere and past clients and actually found 2 new people to join our operations side and welcomed back another agent that was on our team from years past. So Ryan on the just demolishing your team and starting over, done that a number of times. And we have just welcomed back a listing coordinator that was the listing coordinator probably 4 to 5 years ago on our team, who just, we listened, we offered, here's our systems, our tools, and attracted them away from a place also in real estate that wasn't offering the same opportunity. They didn't see that path, that track, and then the sense of security that came with, our consistency, our systems, that, you knew that a paycheck was going to, if you want to be here for 10 years, it's going to be there. It's not like we're just a flash in the pan. Likewise, I think Danny she came on as a client brand ambassador. She was in speech pathology, but was just a past client that had interest in just being around people. And so she's come on board to work our database with our agents and coach them on how to successfully network and attract people to work with them.
Wow. Steve.
Well, it's very interesting because the Great Resignation is actually something that's been a trend for the last 10 years, in terms of people getting out of the workforce, and retirement, relocation, reconsideration, reshuffling, and reluctance. The 5 R's are what's kind of caused it. And then COVID just made it worse and really jumped it up. And in my team, I originally built it with retirees, people, because I'm one myself. I had another career before real estate, and I attracted those kind of people, good quality people that did very well. And so the team did well with that group. They've all aged out and getting ready to move on. So we're in the process now of rebuilding. And I see Jamie DeRuin is on the call here. And Jamie has joined my team as a director of sales. And we're gradually working towards the Golden Handoff. If you haven't read that book, that's a book to read. And she's doing a great job and bringing in some younger agents that are motivated, which is what we want. And so we still have a mix right now of kind of part-time agents, a couple of full-time agents, and we're trying to rebuild the team built around a kind of a younger demographic of highly motivated full-time agents.
I love all of the responses that you all have given for this question. And what I'm hearing is you have to paint the vision so big that they get excited to be a part of it, that you have opportunity out there, and it could be somebody that was already a part of your organization before and you could bring them back. And then it's always so important to keep rebuilding and building that bench that is out of your office, that people are just going to sit on. And when you're ready, they're there for you. So great job with that question, gentlemen. So the next question is a 2-part question. What are you doing to retain the top talent? And have you added any new retention strategies specifically to respond to changes in the opportunities in your market? So I'm going to open it up to whoever wants to go first on that one.
I can jump right in. I think the important question to ask yourself or your team, like before you look at that, is what's actually important to the people on your team that work for you. Like, how do you know how to retain the top talent on your team if you don't know what's actually going to be important for them to be retained on your team? So I think in addition to that, it's like, I feel like where a lot of us fail sometimes, and myself included, and you have to keep reminding yourself of it, is like, are you talking to your team about what your vision is, what your growth plan is? Where do they fit into that? Where's the opportunity? And I think when you have those conversations as a group and individually with the people on your team, they're going to be different across the board. So you have to really tailor your approach to it to make sure that you're going to hit everybody on an individual and a team level. And then when your admin support staff versus your agents, and they're going to get 2 totally different answers from those people as well. So yeah, in the past years, we've added 401k and a better healthcare plan to retain those admin people on the staff, which, don't get me wrong, is expensive, but in the job market that we're in today, if you don't offer those things, it's tough to retain those people. But for other people, it was they wanted more value on the team. So we wanted a more robust database system. So we hired a client care database manager to make sure that all of our SOIs are being hit accordingly. They there was agents on my team who wanted to own investment property. So I partnered with one person on an investment property. We built 2 Airbnbs with team members on the team. We, just did more robust retirement plans for the admin staff. So it's different for everybody, but I feel like if they don't buy into your vision, your growth, and they don't find value in what you're going to add there, then you can try to add stuff, but it might be stuff that is totally irrelevant for the people that work for you.
That is so important. I read a lot on this and how to retain talent. And in one of the magazine articles I pulled out, people ages 25 to 34 view opportunities for mentorship and growth as highly and extremely important over compensation. So I love that you are digging into the individual needs of the people that you are pulling into your team so that you can retain them where they are.
Yeah,
I just love that.
One more thing just to add to is like with talent, I think where a lot of people, and again, I've learned through the failures of everything in business operations and planning, is you want talent and then you talk about accountability and you get talent on your team and then you forget that you have to hold them to a CV process of 30, 60, 90. You have to keep reminding them of their 135 and what they're supposed to be doing. You just think they're talented, so I hire them, they're going to come work for me, they're going to blow up my business, and they're going to be awesome. Well, they're going to get bored. They're not going to find the leadership qualities that they would expect to like lead them because they are talented. They're not feeling challenged because you're not putting stuff in front of them or problems to solve. So you kind of have to grow to the occasion when you have talented people on there that you have to step up and be there for them, because if you're not, then those talented people are going to find their way right out the door, because there is a great resignation and they're going to go find someplace else where they can find it. So are you willing to like meet them in the middle to make sure that they're being challenged and being held accountable to the things that they want? Because talent wants accountability, and if you don't give it to them, they're going to leave.
So good. Anyone else want to add on to that? I mean, I heard so many things, and one of the ways of his strategies is to really get in alignment with his team, paint the vision, show the vision, and be aligned with their vision as well. So Nate, that was great. Anyone else want to add on?
I think the other thing too is, the training and the accountability is key. And, one of the things that I've done is by bringing Jamie onto the team as a director of sales, is that her job is to coach particularly the newer folks, the ones that really need the training, the basic training, so they can get started and be successful sooner than they might otherwise if they were just on their own as an independent agent. So I think that's a big thing that we have done as well.
So basically what you're saying is you have people to stay in their own lane, so you could focus on what you're doing to eventually grow the team and go your plan. And
Right.
Jamie's there to go down her lane and focus on the rebuild or the build of the new agents there, so she could focus on that.
Right. And then the other part of it, the opportunity piece of it, the opportunity to grow and to make it into something bigger.
Yeah.
That's critical as well. Yeah.
Agreed.
For both,
Agreed.
for Jamie and for everybody else that's on the team.
Jeff, Ryan?
I'm just going to add on to what Nate was saying, just in terms of the mission, vision, values, that it's important to have those, but also have it something that aren't just like words that you kind of paste up everywhere, but it's something that you actually believe in, because first of all, you're going to attract people that believe in that too. And if it's just like something that you put together to make it sound good, at some point people are going to know that this was not, that it's not real. So it's easier for them to feel like they're involved in something if you have true mission, vision, and value statements out there that you truly believe in too.
Yeah, be authentic with what your actual value and your mission, vision, values are. Yeah, I love that, Ryan. It's, because I've seen so many that they're like, I don't know what to say, so I'm going to force this mission, vision, value thing. And it ends up being so disingenuine that it's hard to attract people to that. So I think that's great advice as well. Jeff, anything you want to add?
Yeah, so what we did in addition to a number of the items that Nate and Ryan and Steve mentioned was develop an ALC within our team so that they have a say in the decisions.
Wow.
And a number of just emulating Gary in the market center.
Right.
Just to make sure that
that was a good one.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, because the thing is, I'll do things, or my wife will say, well, this needs to be done, and I just do it, and people get pissed off, well, you didn't ask us. We're the ones that come in here every day and why'd you do that? Or, I mean, in the simplest things, like it's too cold or it's too hot, or, pain in the ass to keep like using a lockbox to get into the door. So I go and get a keypad system, and then like just the little things like that you'd be surprised the length that goes, that people keep saying and have questions. So we hit it at the front end of this to take their feedback and reactions and try to be proactive too, to step ahead and like ask them, well, right, what attracted you to the team? And then that backed into that mission, vision, values, beliefs piece too. So we helped create that. So then we also do quarterly a recap that we bring the whole team in. So then we also, from that, instead of having like the smartest notebook on the shelf, we go back and digest and put that back out to everyone and say, well, here's what we heard from you. We're going to show you that we actually take action on it. It's not this like BS. Oh, great. We had this like cool lunch and had fun and shared some laughs. It's like, we're actually listening to what you had said and we're on top of things. So we've gotten better at that, because I definitely screwed that up years ago, and come back from family reunion mega camp and did this or that, or didn't do this or that, and then paid for it in the long run.
And I think KW is seeing that as well with us, because everything we've been to lately, myself, Jen, and some of the other leaders, we are going to different types of classes, and part of the class is your action items. What are the things you and your team are going to hold yourself accountable as you're walking out this door? What are you going to talk about on the plane, and what are you going to do when you get back? And I think we're seeing a big shift in the industry with those accountability items as well. And it is hard as the owner of it to sometimes step back. But what I've also learned, and I know Jen has too, we've talked about, is that once you let go of the process, oftentimes the people who you give the ball to run with on the field do it better, more efficiently. And once you've got that off your plate, it's like, oh, where have you been my whole
want
life?
it back.
I never want the ball back. It's your ball now. It's your game ball.
Well, if I could run real quick with something there. A few of us came from corporate, and what I saw is like, why I knew I could do this better in time was that I just saw you had to put a system or a tool around everything that you do. And so we kept leaving, and I'll pick on the listing team for a second, and I list houses, so I know, we would leave a listing rundown, which is just our meeting that goes through like what's active, what's pending, and the transaction coordinator would get this, and the listing coordinator would get this, and the listing agent would leave the meeting and say, well, this person didn't do this and they didn't do it by this time. And so we said, hold on a minute. And we created a quadrant that then put everybody's name in a box and said, well, take notes during this. We leave the meeting, everybody gets a copy of it. And then you have that accountability piece that says like, I'm doing this so that you do this, so that you do this. And then we turned it into by when. And that was the biggest piece too, was, we love our operations, but they get dumped on with so much stuff that it's not necessarily understood, like, well, when do you need that by? And they don't ask that question. And us high Ds that are on the screen say, well, I want everything done in 5 minutes. Why didn't you do that? And so we put this back. So it's like just accountability piece, but also just a diagram that shows like, hey, we all have something. We left this and we can take action. And then it just back to, it's another piece that just shows like, everybody's got something, we all play a key role, and we need every one of these boxes to hit, or else, the 4 legs of the chair can't, tough to have 3, impossible to have 2, you fall right over. So.
Yeah, I love that activity. And you know what? Every single person on this page could do that activity, whether it be with their team, if they have one, or their family, or their friends. Like, honestly, you could do that activity with any group in your world. So I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Jeff, I have a question for you. Are you still going on listing appointments?
Very few, maybe 20% of them, of the total, not even.
I remember interviewing you, I believe it was about a year ago, and you had a goal to step out of that, to have your team do it. So what happened with that? Just curious. This is off topic. I mean,
no, we can run with it. So my coach basically gave me the I think it was Stephen Cooley who had Tony DeCello as a coach. And their first coaching call, Tony DeCello picks up the phone, calls Stephen, and Stephen picks up and he's like, what'd you do last week? And he's like, well, I went on a couple of appointments. And Tony hung up. Stephen's like, I paid $1,500 or whatever it is a month. calls him back. He's like, why'd you hang up? It's like, well, I coach business owners, not listing agents. So when are you going to stop taking listings? And so we set that as our goal. So that's the next plan, is just every now and again, I get the client that won't work with anybody on the team unless they get me. And we've pretty much scripted or worked that around that, I'm busy or I have some other engagement, or, I'll call them and, Jennifer, we love business, doing business. We sold your last house. You'd be in better hands with Kat or Ashley. They're fantastic. They actually are out there looking at more homes than myself. And, if you need me at any point in time, I'm still here. My name's going to be on the listing agreement. My name's on the sign, et cetera. But at the end of the day, we owe it to you to give you the best service, the best attention. And I know that Kat and Ashley will provide that. So, and then most people are like, yeah, cool. Because I've also scripted the team that I'm always on an appointment. I can call people back, but usually someone else calls back and then the person forgets who I am. And that has been, the key that we knew that would happen when that happened was when we actually had feedback come in and people had no idea who I was. Like I had to call someone and they're like, who are you? Like, my name's on the sign in your yard. But it was cool to have that happen, that people, realize like, Kat's my agent, or, I talked to Amanda and Kim about my listing and they're completely satisfied. As long as the service is to the same level, they're happy. And how we backed into that in the beginning was just that, and maybe save it for later, but it was just to find those person or persons that could convert at the same level as you, so that you didn't feel like if you handed a piece of business and had whatever your split is, that you felt like there was a loss. If they're converting at the same level, they just need incrementally sell a few more to make sure that your time is better spent doing something else. And maybe that's just generating more leads and networking to develop the business.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to visit that, is because it's so important on the talent that you have to be able to do that, to replace yourself, right? So, and that goes along right with, coming up with the strategies on how to retain your top talent. All right, Brooke, I know you have another question that you're burning to ask, so go ahead.
Oh, we got a ton of questions. I can be here all day with you guys. You're so cool. Now, we, in the last few years, we've shifted to this world, right? This has been our world for so long. And I'm super grateful for the opportunity that came out of all of this, because I've gotten to meet so many of you guys and we've had some great conversations, but sometimes it's hard to build culture via Zoom. So with your team, I know we can't always be together as a cohesive group. There's just no way sometimes you can meet. How are you building culture in a world where you oftentimes have to be virtual? So anybody can pick that one up.
I mean, just very, very simple things. I mean, we do have regular meetings by Zoom because during the height of the pandemic, nobody was coming into the office. And now there's a couple folks that are here and everybody else is working remotely. So we begin the one of the meetings with what we call the Friday reports. How was your last week? And it can be something real estate related. It can be personal. But what's something that happened good in your life in the last week? And I think that's one of the things that enabled us to keep a little personal touch on what's going on. We also do a number of events that are outdoors, so that even when some of the people that are reluctant to come would come to those, and just really trying to keep the, I guess, the relationship between the different agents strong has been very helpful.
What else are you guys doing?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, things have definitely changed. Like people work from home more. I think they've actually become more efficient on the admin side from working from home and not getting all the agent distractions of walking in and chatting for 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
I think the big thing that I look at is like your culture doesn't change because you're remote. Your culture is what your culture is. Like you have the same mission, you have the same priorities, you have the same principles, you have the same accountability. Like your accountability with your staff and your agents doesn't change. Like their GPS doesn't change, their 411 doesn't change. You're just administering it the same way that we're sitting on this call talking right now. So I think as leaders, as business owners, like you sometimes might need to make more phone calls because you're not passing them in the hallway. But you have to commit to the key things in your business, which drive your business forward. And that is accountability. So yeah, it's through Zoom. Your team meetings ours are through Zoom. Our team scripting every morning is through Zoom. So I think a lot of things have become easier because it's easier for people to be in a specific place at a specific time versus like running from a showing or a closing or whatever it might be. There's not much of an excuse to not be there anymore. So I'd say we have more participation because we make it easier for them to get face-to-face through Zoom. So I think it's just, you can't change your culture because the world has changed. Your culture can actually get better because of it.
Wow.
I tend to agree with all of that. In some ways, it's easier to have this culture of accountability when you're not, focusing on conversations you're having face to face or going out and having, some sort of social events as a team. That just reviewing the numbers, making sure people are hitting their goals is almost easier when you're not together all the time.
Jeff, do you have anything?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, during this time, I think it was easier, like the guy said, going back to ages ago. I think there was some agents that maybe felt some pressure and stress, like they had to be in the office. Like I'm not going to get leads if I'm not here. Someone's over my shoulder, and people use that as an excuse, like, yeah, I don't want people listening to my calls, or like they just felt uncomfortable. So I've seen some folks just, hey, if your environment, if you hit your goal and you close the amount of business that you want to, and we're all satisfied, I don't care if you're on the moon doing your phone calls or your networking. And I think, yeah, I mean, I'm like kicking myself for, 5-6 years ago, we rented like 4,000 square feet of space because the agents wanted this like state of the art, like awesome place and the huge. And then like the second that happened, it was like, well, the acoustics, and it sounds like a telephone, a call center. And it just made it awkward. And it's hard to please everybody. Some people thrive on like, I need someone over my shoulder or like in the other room knowing that I'm making my calls, and others like, scared shitless to like make calls because they might say something wrong or they're not as good. And we always use it as the leaders to say, well, why wouldn't you want to listen to other people's interactions so that you don't make those same mistakes? We try to use it as that, but right back, looking back, being in their shoes, I get it that it's just uncomfortable. So find that environment that works for you. I mean, I had an agent that was super scared, and we encouraged them to like do the Google chat like this, where you actually see yourself making the calls and you're recording it. And she just got, she got better, but we didn't share that with anybody. It was just her and I that watched those to critique them.
Wow.
We'll say like
Yeah,
one
that pressure
struggle.
does come off. It's amazing. Go ahead, Ryan.
I was saying like one struggle in terms of culture that we have right now is that a lot of the things that we used to have in-house, like just admin, I've kind of outsourced. So these people who used to, even if they don't roll in once a week or twice a week or whatever, like in some cases, agents on my team have never met this person and never will. Like I have VAs in the Philippines, like I'm never going to meet them, who are part of my team, or my transaction coordinator, my listing manager, I happen to know because they used to be on my team, but they work for an outsourced company now. So we're never really going to have that old school culture. And it's hard to include them, in that team. But if we're going back to the idea of just holding them accountable and just, did you do your job? Then it doesn't matter if they're in a desk in, Danvers or in the Philippines or wherever. There is that culture there, but it's just going to always be a little different.
It is. And the pandemic changed how we focus on productivity. What is true productivity? I have corporate PTSD as well. I came from the corporate world. I still do things now. And Jen always says to me, but why are you saying that? It doesn't, we're not like, it doesn't, that we don't do that. Like, and it's funny how years of being in a corporate world shaped certain behaviors where I'm like, can I do this? And they're like, yeah, you don't have to ask, like it's so funny how the culture around this has changed so much, because if you're being productive, you're hitting your goals, your team is helping you, and you're seeing that. Productivity is where the people are productive in the environment in which they thrive in. So I kind of love that Zoom has allowed that for us.
Yeah, and that's called empowerment of what you're doing, right?
I know. I'm working on it here, right? Like corporate TSD is a real thing. Like it takes a long time to like shake out of that.
All right, Steve, what were you going to add?
I was just going to say that I think the hybrid that we've all kind of fallen into is here to stay. And it's actually a good thing because there are some people that are better off coming into the office to work, and there are others who can work from the moon and do it. And so I think it's better all the way around, the way it's kind of evolved into this situation.
I tend to agree with you. I absolutely think that there has to be a balance of it, because if it was just all digital, I think we know what happened during COVID. It got stale and the energy got low, and we needed to kind of get that reboot back. So I think personally there has to be a good balance between using the digital world and, you know, that belly to belly interaction with whether it be your team or your client. So I agree with you. All right, let's go right into the next question here. And it talks a little bit about finding opportunity, finding talent in unexpected places. So the question is, where are you finding talent right now? Where are you finding talent right now? And what about your operations talent as well? So all talent. Go ahead, Steve, if you want to start off with that one.
Well, it's funny because we were kind of looking at this yesterday and getting ready for this, but we've got a retired writer who's got two Emmy Awards. We've got a retired police officer. We've got a guy that's a carpenter, a finished carpenter, high-end finished carpenter who can't do that anymore, and he's coming on to us. We've got a retired investment person. Got people, in other words, people coming from different jobs completely, you know, and they're the ones that are reconsidering their role in life and reshuffling. But we've got a guy that we're talking to now who's an attorney, who's decided he wants to get out of that and come do real estate. Talented people, and so they're coming from everywhere right now. And our traditional place has been more of a service industry. People that already can deal with folks and know how to talk to people, and that's been a good source of folks as well. But it's really all over the board, across the board.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I would say the majority, I'd say 90% of the people that, whether it's admin or agents on our team, come from our SOI, our friends, our family, or our current agents on our team. Like every once in a while, like we've hired one that was recommended by the market center who was looking for a team. But as much as we've tried to like go on Indeed or LinkedIn or these other places to find talent, it's never been as opportune as when we get a referral from literally our clients, our agents on our team. Like the past people we've hired were referral from my trainer at the gym. One was a referral from the guy who sold me my boat. My admin's person was a guy who sold 6 investment properties too. So like they've all come through like some connection. And I think the people that are referring to us know what the team stands for, what our values are, that we're going to be a good opportunity for this person. So because people know that about our business, then they're happy to refer those people to us.
Yeah, and they know that you're going to change their world by coming into your world, right? So that's a ripple effect right there for sure, of, you know, your sphere of influence that you're already working with. Now you're providing additional value to the people that they know. So what a tremendous ripple effect, Nate. Great job. Anyone else?
I know I already mentioned it, but you know, just finding strong sales talent now, for me personally, I don't know if it's true for everybody else, is easier in this day and age, because you have so many people who are, you know, looking to move on to different jobs. A lot of people want to get their real estate license. I'd be curious for the other panelists if they've found the same success with finding, you know, staff, admins and stuff as sales agents in the past year or so.
Yeah, I can work on that one. So back to where we found people, and then I'll answer Ryan's question. Is you know, we've got someone from hospitality that's been fantastic, so that people, you know, the industry. There, another young lady is from the nonprofit world, so just naturally, you know, caring, gravitates towards people. and asking for, their support. So they've both been fantastic. As far as our where everybody's come from, it's all SOI. Like Nate said, we just talk to enough people that they just surface, and everybody on the team, admin, sales, what have you, has all, someone has already known them before, maybe has worked with them in the past. Past clients have become agents, and they've always been the ones that worked out the best. So I would encourage you just to keep talking to enough people, and then talk to some more. Just tell them what you're looking for, and you don't need to hire them right now. Just say, like, this is the ideal person. You might even be talking to that person, but don't directly ask them. People like to be sold through, not to, and just continue to surface that. Back to Ryan's question about like surfacing operations, is like, if you can work through that, they don't have to be local, then you should cast the net as far as you can. And that's what we found too, is, we do have VAs in the Philippines as well. And in the past had toyed with the idea of someone being in Dallas, Texas to run, marketing, stay in touch with college students, et cetera, that may be from the area and have the local connection. You just never know. So don't squash any idea. And there's plenty of people, I think, on this Zoom call, that you have a big enough business that you could attract someone from Keller Williams or any other company across the country or worldwide that may be looking to move to your area. So we have at least 2 such cases that I know of, where we just put it out there, and a large team in San Diego and a large team in Washington, DC connected with us, and agents were looking to move here and vetted us before they moved. And then we helped them, one of them buy their home, and the other was already here, but had asked for a referral through an agent in the other state. And we had that, we made that connection.
Thank you, Jeff. And I do have a question in the chat from Nicole. Hi, Nicole. Haven't seen you in a while. Hope all is well. She's asking, a lot of you are talking about like no experience to real estate from your SOI coming in. What about bringing in people that are experienced between the $3 to $8 million sales volume to your team?
That emerging talent that's got it. They're there. They just need more.
Sorry, Laura, we'll go back to your question. I missed it. We'll go back to it, but if we could answer that one first.
I think that in order to get somebody that's either emerging or experienced, there has to be all about the opportunity, and what opportunity for them to grow, both personally, professionally, but also in terms of their income. It really comes down to that.
Anyone else want to touch on that?
Yeah, I think when you get like in the people who are the emerging talent, like in the salesperson position, everybody is extremely different in what they want and what is important like to them. So you really got to like dig deep and figure it out. A lot of people want more money, obviously, and they want more time back. So you ask yourself, how do I solve both of those issues for somebody where they can come to my team and make more money and get more time back? So I essentially look at my job for my team is obviously help hold them accountable to their own goals, not my own, because their collective goals are going to equal what my goal is. And it's my job to put those people in place. But it's to find out, how do I take everything off their plate so they can just go sell houses? So I have a listing manager who is literally doing everything. You sign the listing appointment, you hand it in with your data sheet, and then you do nothing until it goes live. We have a staging person who does all the staging, the photos, the listing description, the client contact through when it goes listed and when it goes live. The manager sends out the listing preview. On the closing coordination side, we have a closing coordinator who's taking it right from contract to close. We have a database manager now who just recently hired, who's taking over all the SOI, everything for them. So they're writing personal notes. They're going to be doing everything in that respect. So literally agents have to lead generate a little bit because we have an ISA that we're bringing on shortly. So there's going to be even less of that. So they got to write contracts, show houses, go on appointments, close them, and then that's it. So it's how do you take as much of that stuff off? So when you get to your 3 to 10, 12, $15 million producers, we brought on a $13 million producer like 3 years ago. She just wanted her time back. She didn't want to sell more houses. She just wanted to make as much money and get her time back. So we figured out a plan of how to get her there. So we do bring on a lot of new agents on our team, but we are inclined to bring on the $3 to $10 million people and help them hit their goals, whatever they may be, and take
Yes,
us.
so what you're saying is you're giving them every tool possible they need, so that way all they have to do is go on an appointment, close the appointment, and go to the next one.
Yep.
So the value is there for them to say, yeah, why wouldn't I do that? Yeah, I'll pay you more in a split if I get more transactions, and that's all I have to do because it's easier. Awesome.
100%.
Yeah, Nate, I do have a question from Laura. Sorry, Laura, that I missed it in the chat from before. She said, how is it to have your own brother or family work for you? I think, is anyone else have family members work other than Nate? Okay, so Jeff and Nate, if you could answer this one.
I would say, one, I took him through the CV process like I do anybody else. So when you guys are, this question was, how do you attract top talent? You take everybody through the CV process. How many times have you met somebody and you said, oh, this person's amazing, like I can't wait, and then you take them to the CV process, you get through the group interview and you're like, oh wait, they are not a good fit for my team. So save yourself the headache, spend the 6 to 10 hours to take them through CV. I don't care if it's a buyer's agent, a virtual assistant, a admin person, everybody in our team goes through the CV process. No hire is rushed, it's not worth it. So that leads into my brother, Joe. So I took him through the CV process just like I would any other agent on the team. There was a 30, 60, 90, and I made it very clear for him that I will not treat you any differently than any person on this team. You will not get any special privileges, and I'm going to hold you even more accountable than any other agent on my team. And if you agree to that, then you can come work here. And if you don't, then there's other great teams in the market center that you can go work for. And he said, no, I want to work for you. I want to make it happen. I actually was not convinced he was going to be a great agent for whatever reason. He's just my younger brother, and that's how I thought about it. And he has exceeded all my expectations and did about 15 million last year. So he does fantastic.
So you removed, this is business at business. Family is family. I grew up in a family business, so I've seen this.
I own other businesses with other family members, and our roles are all very clearly defined. Typically the role is I'm in charge and I'll make the final decisions, and you guys have to be okay with that. But at the same time, they know what their roles are and the business. And as long as everybody adheres to that, then you don't typically have any issues with it.
Thank you so much, Nate. And I think what I heard you said is you set an expectation for every team member, including your family members.
100%.
And you held everybody to that. You don't make any adjustments.
Yeah. And you also have to do what you say you're going to do. Like with anybody, like if you say you're going to do something, you talk a big game and then you never follow through on it, then that becomes what the expectation is of every conversation you have is he's going to say he's going to do this and he's not. And believe me, I learned that the hard way. Like when you overpromise too much stuff early in your career because you want to get people to join your team and they come on and you can't follow through with the promises that you promise them. And then that creates a terrible working relationship and things don't work out.
Yeah, I agree. Jeff, what do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, Nate hit all the key points. It's treating everyone equal. I mean, that comes from just years of like growing up in sports too, with like, coaches tend to be like coaching their kids. If you treat everybody fairly, then it's an even playing field. So my dad works for me in a limited role because he's retired, but he doesn't get any preferential treatment or any special, things taken care of for him. In fact, actually, so I had, my cousin was my assistant maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I had to fire them. And then my dad got in a verbal disagreement with someone on the team in the office. And I actually had to ask him to leave for, must have been like 2 or 3 days to just keep him away so that things could cool off. So, it's a lot, like, I can't remember who said it, but as a leader, the spotlight is always on and the curtain's always drawn. You're on stage. People are also watching how do you react to items and deal with them. So you can't play favorites, whether it's family or anybody, because people are careful about that. Like, oh, so-and-so is getting more leads or more support. Can't have that happen. And that goes not just from the leader, but staff too, that they're, not playing favorites or, we're all in it together. That's why the 4-box thing, they're all equal squares.
Thank you. All right, Brooke, let's move on. I know we're going to try and get us out of here by 2:30 today. So if you're on, hang in there until 2:30. We're going to get some couple more questions answered and then wrap it up for the day.
Yeah, so you guys have touched on so many of the questions through everything else. So what have you learned? I've decided to rename this, by the way, the Great Opportunity instead of the Great Resignation, because it seems that everybody took such opportunity out of this time. So what is one of the most valuable lessons you've learned as a business owner during this great opportunity? And Steve, we'll start with you and then we'll go down and around.
I think the greatest thing that I've learned is simply, and it's consistent with what you hear in Shift and all that, is just double down on the basics and focus on the activities that generate the business. And I think Nate said it perfectly, get them to focus on the 20% and let the team cover the 80 that doesn't do it. So it's really just double down on the basics and do it right. And I think those are the agents that are going to succeed and do well in this market.
Go ahead, Jeff.
This market, this Great Resignation is really out of your control. What you can control is just how you go day to day through, your steps, your process, what you do to attract talent. Because actually, hate to admit it, but we offered a job to someone, they accepted, signed all the paperwork, gave their notice, and then 3 days later said, and this has happened twice, my current employer offered me more money. So we, got somebody a very sizable raise to stay put. But right, don't burn that bridge. They might come back. So one of them did. The other's still out there. But again, you can't control. You can only present stuff, and you don't want to run after someone. Because if you chase them, they'll run faster away. So just keep doing what you do and control what work with what you can control. Don't worry about anything else.
Your consistency is so important in your business, right? Mm-hmm. Doing this consistent, there's nothing pretty about what we do in the everyday successes. That stuff is always boring, but the consistency, I know I'm a person who thrives on consistent things.
Well, I'm sure Nate can elaborate on this, but if we modify our business to attract like 1 or 2 people, just because we need that 1 or 2, more bodies to our team, it could disrupt the 8 to 10 people that are doing great. So we never want to compromise what we've got going. So we weren't willing to, chase with more money or better, whatever this person might've been looking for. It was like, well, this is the package, and they loved it. And then I guess they didn't, but we weren't going to compromise or change our model for one person that could, spite 15 other people.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Ryan.
During this time, I would say that we leverage technology even more. We'd always been somewhat tech heavy. When I was given the opportunity to start over again, we went totally paperless, which kind of is part of our value, both to our agents and to our clients. It allowed us to cut costs significantly. And not just not with the VAs, with a lot of things that we're doing, and no mailings and things like that too. So just the complete adoption of technology has saved us a lot of time, money, and reinforced our values. So that's something that I took out of the great opportunity, as you're calling it, and spent some time as a market center tech trainer as well, as you know.
Go ahead, Nate.
I think there's been a lot of lessons learned over the past few years, but I think, when the pandemic started, if you have a good culture, it can get you through a lot of the tough times. If you really figure out what is the culture of your team, and it's not something you can kind of pinpoint, I think the values and what your mission and what your goals are will kind of dictate what your culture is. But if you have a good culture and your culture is what you stand for and what you live every day, that is going to attract the top talent to your team. And I think people associate value with money. And I think when you do that, it's the wrong way to look at it. I have plenty of agents who have come to my team on lesser splits than they could have gone elsewhere because they found value in other things that we have done. And we're helping them actually achieve the goals that they set out. So don't think value is always money or leads. It can be other services or things that are important to people. And you really just got to have standards. Like if you don't have standards that are upheld every day, every week, every month, every year, then people just don't know where they stand. And when you say you have standards, your standards are really what you accept from the lowest person on your team. So you might have 10 people who are great and one person who is not, but your standards are what that lowest person is. And you have to remember that everybody sees that on your team as a leader.
You guys get that one? Because that one was gold too. I mean,
Yeah.
all of this has been gold, guys, by the way. So thank you so much. And I do have a final question, and then we'll take some ahas from the group here. What is one question we should have asked you regarding the great opportunity, as Brooke calls it, that we did not ask you today? I'm going to go around to everybody. What's one thing we should have asked you that we should know about?
I don't think it's one thing, but I think everybody should look at their business pretty closely now and ask yourself, is your business up 20% versus where it was 2 years ago? Because if it's not, then your business is actually down because sales prices are up 20 to 30% across the board. So if you're doing, 10 million now and you're doing 10 million 3 years ago, you're actually doing the equivalent of like $7.2 million in your actual market. So the recession is coming. It's probably already here. It's going to probably be, negative GDP again this quarter, and things will turn. But don't look at a recession as like something that's going to kill your business. It is literally the best opportunity to grow your business. Just hold your line. If you did 100 deals this year, do 100 deals when the recession hits. And when you come back out of it, you are literally going to take that market share because you held the line. So right now, the past 6 months, I would say just buckle down, get your systems and processes in place, and do everything you can. So when the market does start to shift, and it probably already is across the board where you guys are, that you guys will be prepared for it. So focus on your database and the people who are actually going to give you referrals once things start to swing the other direction.
Such great advice. Love that. Who's next?
I'll go. I suppose one thing that we talk about in this office is whether or not the old MREA models reflect the current how we currently build our teams, and or advances in technology and the ability to leverage things out to outsourced companies. Has that changed how we build our teams and the models under which we build our teams, or that's different? I know that some of those questions were on your potential list, but that was something that we talk about here.
So are you saying that the MREA is still relevant?
I'm saying it's absolutely relevant. I'm just curious as to when we talk about like a third level team, is it still exactly as was laid out, or do we maybe outsource some of those positions?
Gotcha.
Right.
All
So the levels are there, but are the levels
are there? Yeah, but
But
maybe the people change a little bit. That's all.
Understood.
I think the only question I would come up with is, kind of the crystal ball looking at what do you see coming? And I think Nate just answered that. So that would have been my question.
Love it.
Right. Jeff, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I mean, my question would be back to everybody else's. Where are you investing in your team and outside of your team, such that your team will stay together? I think that was, one of the things is like, you'd ask about retaining top talent, but what are you doing to attract more folks, and then kind of isolate or, insulate your business against any downturn, ancillary businesses that were spoken about. You might want to, consider that. It's been a great tool for us. It's been an opportunity, and you'd be surprised the number of businesses that look to you for the businesses that you refer to them that might be interested in you becoming a partner, share some ownership, or even have you take it over because they see how well you run your business, and they're tired of running theirs. Which I know Steve talked about the golden handoff. So don't consider just that in real estate. Yes, real estate, yet maybe there's an insurance agent, there's a title company, that might, join forces or want you to take it over and run it.
Eyes wide open. Eyes wide open.
All right, let's open it up to the group. Who has an aha, a question, or anything that we could throw back at the panelists with our last few minutes we have here?
Remember to hit that.
Oh yeah, that's right. We practiced the hands.
We practiced. Hit that reaction and raise your digital paw.
Just something I heard from the other three panelists was, just to summarize, it was to see opportunities and provide value. Those are like the themes I heard over and over and over again. And I've been taking notes here. And that's one thing I'm taking, is just see opportunities no matter what happens, and to provide value, whether you're just a solo agent or you have some, a massive team like some of these guys do.
That, Ryan, thank you for sharing. Who else? You can just unmute yourself. Go ahead, Gail.
Gail. Oh, you muted.
Let's unmute Gail, can we? I don't even know.
There we go.
Trying. Okay. I'm wondering about the value of your virtual assistants. What is the main one? If you're looking to do another hire and you're thinking about a virtual assistant, what's the first one that you would hire to do?
We have a virtual assistant. We've had a virtual assistant for 8 years. We have like very specific task oriented things that we ask them to do. We don't have like broad ranging projects. We're asking them to tackle how to like create a 36 touch and interact with our clients. I know that people do that at a higher level than we probably do, but for us, it was like listing input and database entry, just a lot of like input and basic stuff. We create work instructions. So literally, if they're not around and somebody else is working on the stuff that they're doing, they can just literally follow work instructions. So we do keep it pretty simple. And they've been awesome. And they've actually started doing some like social media and some marketing stuff for us because they opened up a little bit more bandwidth with another hire that we have. But I'd say keep it simple, date them for a little bit to make sure that they're going to be good for what you need them to do. And then once they start doing a great job, then you can give them more responsibility, kind of just like you would with any other employee. But the one that we have in the Philippines is very, very intelligent, and he's on team meetings. He does a 4-on-1 every week with our director of operations. So they're treated just like any other employee.
Gail, did that answer your question? Awesome.
It did, and I was wondering about if it was the Philippines, and is it Outdesk that you're using?
Yes, we've hired a couple other ones like right off of Craigslist Manila. Like we've found good people through Craigslist Manila. You can literally go on there and find people. It's like a pretty popular thing. But there's also Cyberbacker. It's Craig Goodliff. He's a maps coach. He's awesome. And they actually will train their VAs to do client care, phone calls, transaction coordination. So there is some pretty high level VAs that you can find out there with these different companies.
Thank you.
All right, Corinna. Oh, unmute. You're not away. I see you.
Here I am. Okay. Sorry. How many of you guys started with a virtual? Well, how many of you guys started with an assistant, an admin first?
They followed the rules.
Mhm.
You did. And then was your second hire another admin, or was it?
Buyer's agent.
It was a buyer's agent.
Buyer agent.
Buyer's agent.
Was.
And
We're
so
all
they're
out of
following the
models.
model. So weird.
What? I know. I was like, is the book projected behind me somewhere? I was looking around to see if those model cheat sheets were behind me.
No, I just kind of pay attention to the book. It's like that whole thing, you read it a gajillion times and you remember something. It's always just one thing you remember. So
Yeah, think of it this way: before you bring an agent on, you want to have some systems and processes in place. So if someone's joining your team, they're joining it to get leverage in their life. So if their leverage is only leads when they join your team, then they're not going to find value in that for very long. So if you have admin support who can provide the support, you're providing training and leads and coaching and everything else that goes with it, then you have like a full circle of benefits you're offering people. You have no admin support. What happens when you're on listing appointments or negotiating contracts and they need something? There's nobody to go to. So admin's always definitely first hire, then agents after, at least in my opinion.
And
yeah, I mean,
So
because
many people needed to hear that. So many.
yeah, I think that's
It's
because
the most painful hire because you're probably not making a ton of money.
That's right.
But you gotta remember it this way too. You're not paying somebody 50 grand a year. You're paying them $4,000 a month for 90 days till they get through their 30, 60, 90. So they're either going to prove their worth or they're not. or you're going to find out you're not a good leader and you're not holding them accountable. But either way, it's not going to work out. You didn't waste 50 grand, you wasted $12,000. And that was probably going to be the best learning lesson you have, because you're not going to make it again and waste another $12,000 when you hire the next person.
And if you do hire an admin, the perfect assistant class is very helpful.
Agree.
Help them get started.
You do yourself a favor, take a piece of paper, write down everything you hate doing or that you're bad at doing, and that's their job description.
Yeah. And on MREA Inc., I'm going to pop this in here, guys. There is actually something called the task list for megas. It's 192 things you should be doing. And that first column is all the things you can push off to that first hire. It's fabulous. It will set your soul free. I can't tell if Jamie or Danielle was next. Jen, did you see who was next?
It was Danielle and then Jamie. So Danielle, why don't you give us your question?
Hi. So my question is, are any of you offering, when we talk about, more value, retaining agents, attracting agents, are any of you thinking outside the box and, offering retirement plans or health care plans or stipends to any of your agents? And are any of you doing, along with that, kind of like, I've started like an advanced agent structure where I have agents and then I have senior agents. And that was born out of the idea that I have a couple of agents that are super loyal, super producing. I want to keep them. They're adding so much to our team. So we've increased their splits. We are looking into retirement plans for them and, healthcare stipends. And I didn't know if anybody else is working on something like that, doing something like that.
Not currently for
Not for
agents.
agents.
Not for agents.
Yeah, so I just put in the chat, Danielle, Keller Perks. And it's one of the things that Keller Williams just rolled out this year. And if you haven't looked into it yet, maybe it's something that you have your agents look into, and you could give them some different splits off of the benefits of using Keller Perks, meaning include it into what they sell, or their splits anyway. So I would take a look at that for sure.
Yeah, I think if you look at retirement plans, that you obviously contribute money to your retirement plan, you retire, you take dividends or the interest every year to retire. There's other retirement plans that you can look at for agents, and they're called investment properties. And we happen to be in real estate, and we're able to find really good deals. So if you want to help your agents, like help themselves, I'm not saying it's easy. It's hard to save $1 million, $2 million, $3 million for retirement. Even with $3 million at 4%, it's $120,000 a year. It's probably less than everybody's making now if they've been in business for less than 5 years. So if you can help them buy 4 investment properties over the next 10 years and encourage them to take the excess money and pay down the principal quicker on those properties, then they're going to be 20 years into the business. They're going to have 4 properties that are all paid off and cash flowing, and boom, you got $15,000 to $20,000 a month in positive cash flow. So for me, I partner with my agents to buy investment properties because they don't know how to do it. They're scared of doing it. They won't take the leap, or maybe they don't have the proper funds to do it. So sometimes I'll put down more of the down payment on the property and they manage it. So there's a way to create that value and look at retirement, which I think is extremely important and is overlooked in our business. So I think there's many ways to look at how do you help people contribute to that in their future. And we talk about investments all the time. And it's one of the things that we focus on, like in our 4-in-1s every week, and how much closer are we to buying the next investment property.
Wow.
Great insight, Nate. And I think you're like a Nate Dickey squared. Like you talk just like Nate Dickey and what he's doing with his team and opportunities and such. All right, Jamie, you're up, and then we're going to Bonnie.
All right, awesome. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to share an aha that, I took away with something about creating a smaller ALC within the team and asking them what's important to them, because sometimes Steve and I are so busy with the big stuff, right? And sometimes it's the little things that we might not even realize that, maybe are falling under the wayside, or something that, that they notice that we haven't picked up on. So thank you for that. That's one of my big ahas in my notes, and something Steve and I can talk about, especially since it's a team that's kind of taking a new shape. I think that getting their insight on things like that would be very helpful to us. So thank you.
That was a huge takeaway, like huge.
Yeah.
I wrote that down. Like, I was like, wow.
Oh.
All right, Bonnie, you're up. Hi, by the way.
Hi there. Sorry, I have a mouse in my house and my cat's trying to chase it out. It's like freaking me out. He's pretty big. But anyway, do any of you folks have a playbook of some sort other than the MREA that you would be willing to share? I don't have a team, but I've wanted to start a team for a long time. And I know that your assistant is probably the main one to begin with, whether it's virtual or live. But does anybody have a playbook? And if you do, if you're willing to share, that would be awesome.
I don't really have a playbook. We literally just follow the MREA. And I think the biggest thing that anybody on this call that's looking to start a team can do is just get really small in what you're looking at and how you start. Like when you think about, I want a team with 10 agents and 4 admins, that seems like very insane to like just say out loud when you are just a single agent. So just focus on your first hire. And then once you get your first hire, focus on your second hire. Once you get your second hire, you focus on your third hire. I think if you do that, it becomes a lot less daunting. You know, we have a new agent that started on our team this week and said, how many deals do you want to sell this year? And she said, 18 would be great. And we broke it down and we figured out she can sell 36 if she just sets 2 appointments every single week. So I said, can you set 2 appointments every week? And she said, yeah, of course. I set, 4 my first week last week. And I was like, great. Well, if you did half of that every week for the rest of the year, you will sell 36 homes. It's the same thing with business building. It's like, don't get too far ahead of yourself. Just focus on that, like that tip of that needle. Like, what's that one thing I have to do today that makes everything else easier or unnecessary? Quote from the one thing right there. But if you just do that, then you can move along pretty quickly and then things just start to fall in place. But have your vision in place of where you want to go and then just take that first domino and push it forward.
All right, should we mic drop that right there?
I think that was.
They have a great day or what?
Wow.
All right, guys. Steve, Jeff, Ryan, Nate, Brooke, great panel today and great discussion. I know we're going to continue this discussion around the shift and what's happening. So Brooke, what else do you want to add before we close up for today?
We will get this information out. I took so many notes. I will break it down for you guys. We're going to put it on the Growth Call Facebook page. But if you have questions about the KW perks, please reach out to me. I plot my info in the chat, b.silva. I do know about last week they brought the site down to add some stuff to it for you guys. So if you want help connecting to that crew at KW, please let me know. I've put the leverage resources in, and guys, we just thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us to help grow yourselves, grow your future teams and panelists. You guys are fantastic as always. Thank you so much for spending some time with us and the region.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
I learned a
And
lot.
Brooke, the 2 links didn't work in the chat, so.
Oh, I'll get them out to you.
All right, great, thanks.
My keyboard is half dead, so great. And this is recorded, guys, so watch for it on our YouTube, and I will post the link up when it's live in a day or two on
to our
YouTube.
panelists. Can you guys email Brooke your organizational chart so that way we could send it out to the group that's here as well? I know we just got a question on how many people in each team, so if you have an org chart, please send it to us and we'll get it out to everybody.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right, New England, you have a fantastic day.
Thank you.
Yeah, everyone.
All right, bye, guys.